Sam, good to see you today. So, Microsoft is deploying $30 billion of capital into the UK market in artificial intelligence and data centres. That's a huge investment. What role will decarbonisation need to play amid the growing AI boom in the UK and beyond?
I think, first of all, thanks for the question. I think that's a really important question in the sense that AI as a technology is an enabler, and the use of AI is only going to increase from here on out. And AI on its own is the worst today that it will ever be. AI is only going to get better from here on out. That means that the use of the technology will increase. The energy pull from that technology might increase, might not. Data centers, as we know it, are improving over time, and they're getting more optimum for their energy use, for the utilities pull, and so on. And I think I'd just like to draw in the point that the data centers are not necessarily the end. The data centers are a means to an end. The data centers and the energy pull that they bring is to power the technology, and the technology can then be used in the energy sector and other sectors to drive massive impacts and massive benefits for all of us. And in the energy sector, that might lead to massive improvements on the supply side, might bring so much more energy onto the grid, and will bring so much more clean energy. One of the things most countries suffered from is grid congestions, which means that all that clean energy, all that renewable energy that we're bringing onto grids cannot be used effectively, and they've got to be curtailed. AI can help us get over some of that congestion and help us maximize the use of that clean energy. So in my view, AI is, while we talk about the impact of AI on the demand side, AI has got an equally or if not bigger impact on the supply side, on the generation side, and help us maximize clean energy.
So there's a lot there. What I'm taking from your answer is that the impact of AI is going to be huge, and especially in terms of paying forward back to the energy industry.
Absolutely. And I think, there is an opportunity cost there, because I think if we don't maximize the use of this technology today, we'll possibly run into a scenario where the grids will be too complex for us to operate. Just the sheer complexity that's coming from the demand side into the grid with distributed energy resources, with solar and EVs. I think it's coming to a stage where we can't humanly operate the grid. We need intelligence at scale. We've got data in exabytes. We can't do that as humans. We need this technology to help us run things more effectively.
What a positive view of the future of AI and energy. So there's a company called Global Switch, which is a data center company in Europe that wants to promote 100% renewable energy across its data centers. How important is that growth in data centers and AI going to be on the, as you mentioned a minute ago, on the supply side of energy, not just the resulting demand for it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there. I think any responsible data center player would make sure that they're powering their data centers with clean energy. And I think again, as I said before, it's a means to an end. The use of that technology can help unlock so much more. Just as an example, dynamic line rating, which is the use of AI models to help you push more capacity through transmission assets that already exist. Just DLR can help free up nearly 30% on existing assets. Just imagine, 30% on existing transmission assets being freed up through the use of this technology. And that's just one example. There's so many more in just and the sheer impact that it can drive. I mentioned grid congestion episodes. By getting better understanding of how the grid's going to behave in the days, the weeks, and the months to come, because of all the generation that's going to hit and the demand that's going to hit, we can be so much better in maximizing all that clean energy that we generate, whether that be through wind or solar. And I think for me, that's the crux of the discussion. yes, AI has got an impact on the demand side, but it's a means to an end. Let's not just stop the discussion there. Let's then start to understand how we can scale that technology on the supply side, how we can start to really clean up and make our energy system more intelligent, more adaptable, more flexible, and more smarter, I'd say, at the end of the day.
Well, that's definitely an overlooked aspect of AI, being able to drive a third savings in energy usage across systems and optimizing the grid. That certainly sounds like a positive direction for the technology. In terms of the energy footprint of AI, do you think that the future of the landscape, it will involve more renewable energy, or do you think that there is room for other decarbonisation technologies, such as, for example, carbon removal?
I mean, I think I wouldn't say it's an either-or story. I think it's an and story, and we should probably use every tool in the toolkit to make sure that what we're doing here is done in a responsible manner. From an energy, I mean, I've lived my entire life in the energy sector. My entire career has been in the energy sector. I do believe it's up to this sector to make sure that we power this demand that's coming our way in a responsible and a sustainable manner. And I think we're up for the task. I'm an eternal optimist. I'm not going to give in to sort of fear mongering. I think we are up for the task. I mean, this conference here is proof of the fact that there is enough and more innovation and value out there that we need to bring into the sector and scale.
So I think that's why a lot of people are here today, as you say, for innovation. It's really a technology and sustainability conference. We're at the intersection of how technology can drive forward decarbonisation in the energy industry. So with that in mind, can I just ask you, which are the most promising, in your view, in your personal view, which are the most promising AI technologies when it comes to, for example, optimising the grid, which is a huge, huge challenge right now with the bottlenecks that we're seeing in the grid queues?
Yeah, I think just some examples off the top of my head. I mean, I already mentioned the dynamic line rating. I think that's a great example of how you can sweat your existing assets to the maximum. So that's one example. I think there's so if you kind of take it in three chunks. So the first chunk is sort of sweating your existing assets to the max. The next one probably is, we know we've got to build massively more grid capacity to cater for population growth, but also to cater for all that clean energy that we're bringing onto the grid. So I think there are technologies in there that help you plan and deliver capital projects that are required for grid assets much faster, digital twins and similar. I think there's lots of value in scaling them. And finally, I think when it comes to actually operating the grids, there's technologies that help you crunch millions of scenarios in seconds or minutes and help you come with much more optimum scenarios for what should be executed out in the field. There's various examples there that we can talk about. I think the final one that I'd probably bring in here is some work that we as Microsoft have done, which is around using generative AI models for permitting and consenting scenarios. So if you think about it, typically drafting a permit, whether that be for a clean energy asset or a nuclear energy asset, can take somewhere between 3, 5, 10 years. And it's just teams of people working through lots and lots of data. And that's just drafting a permit.
That's shocking.
That's not even sort of getting the permit approved. That's just drafting the permit.
Blimey.
So we said, let's put technology to use. And through the use of generative AI and large language models, you can now draft them much faster. So the model basically drafts the permit for you. It looks across all the historical information, current information, laws, regulation, blah, 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 and drafts up a permit for you. Is the permit complete? No, it's not, but it's 50-60% complete. And then humans are taking it from there to completion, and it takes
to check for accuracy.
Well, to check for accuracy as we start out, because I would never say people should be using the technology without getting confidence in it. So to check for accuracy is mainly to get the human confidence in the solution, but to then do things that you wouldn't want the solution to do. So there'll be intricacies that you would want a human to write, for example. So that's what the humans do, taking it from 60 to 100%. And that then just means that you squeeze the entire time that it takes to draft up a permit from months and years down to days and weeks. I mean, there's a public example around Aloe Atomics out in the US, which have compressed their permit times by 92% through the use of this tech. I mean, so that's just clear proof that you've got tech that can really drive significant impact. And by the way, that tech was powered by energy from data centers. So that then brings it back to the whole circle of circle of energy.
Wonderful. And wouldn't it be amazing if that was all 100% renewables?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Well, Sam, an eternal optimist, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.